Counter-Strike actually had an official visual novel called White Memories that builds its story somewhat around the Japanese arcade version of it, Counter-Strike Neo. Something I also want to talk about in another video, but you may see some gameplay of it here and there in the background sometimes. I played through it with the help of Desk Translate, a little program that translates text on your screen in almost real time since it's in Japanese only and I can't speak or read it. This is not an ad, but if you want to play it yourself, I would recommend doing it like this. It manages to actually build up such a tense atmosphere thanks to the amazing soundtrack. Trust me, it's really super duper good, and the translation managed to write out the dialogue really well at points, almost as if it was actually written by a human who translated it almost perfectly. Obviously I can't say that for sure since I don't speak the language myself, but it felt very natural. Like 85% of the dialogue was easily understandable, while sometimes you would have to rhyme it together yourself to make it make a bit more sense. But you got all the context from the parts that you understood anyway, so it wasn't hard. I will mostly tell you about its story since, well, that's the main part of a visual novel, isn't it? So there will be spoilers since I will take you through every chapter and tell you its contents. If you already got interested in it, then go read through it yourself and you can easily find it on the Internet Archive. The main character's name is Sho, and our job is to infiltrate a facility of Neo, who we think are the bad guys, but are they really? There is also no one around, nothing is happening, going through these futuristic corridors while not knowing what will happen the next time we step around the corner, our guy being all nervous and stuff despite being a soldier. Imagine if your character in Counter-Strike wouldn't want to turn around the corner because he's afraid of dying. Would be kinda funny, I think. The intro that later plays confirms it that we are an unexperienced soldier who just joined the CSF in the fight against Neo, so it makes sense for him to feel uneasy. Not everyone can be a born killing machine. Our teammates are Omar and Rionov, the former also being a newbie and the later being somewhat of a mentor because he's 35 already, so we're hanging out with a grandpa, basically. Experience is really important on the battlefield though. Suddenly, we hear shots and our communication with some other members breaks down, so we rush into the direction of the gunshot to see what is going on, but we just can't find anyone till we get flashbanged and our life flashes by before our eyes, feeling someone press a gun onto our forehead, just waiting to be shot to death, which doesn't happen since it's Rionov and Omar, getting reunited with them in a rather intense way. And here we also get our first game mode section of the game, where we learn how to walk around. Nothing else really. You can shoot, but well, there's nothing to shoot at, yet. So we walk around a bit and end up in a room full of corpses, 50 if you want to believe the translation. I can't count that many, but well, we can see all of the room. It mentions how bad it reeks and how our MC wants to throw up from the smell, so I will trust that there's a whole bunch of them. I never smelled a corpse, but I would rather not have to, you know. So, who did all of that? It surely wasn't the girl dressed in white who just asks where she is, right? Implying she lost all of her memory. I actually got goosebumps when it faded into its intro. I think in video form like this, it does not translate too well, but the whole atmosphere in episode 1 was something special. Let's hope it keeps it up. Chapter 2 is titled Maki, the girl we just rescued, and it's pretty much a slice of life chapter for the most part. Aoma is simping too hard for Maki to take care of her, so the commander tells you to talk to her and protect her, since you're the cold, gentle type of guy who doesn't suddenly lose his mind at the sight of a woman, unlike the rest of the squad. We get a bunch of backstory about the bad guys, Neo. In normal Counter-Strike you mostly think that the terrorists are the baddies, while the counter-terrorists are the good guys. Here it's a bit different than that. Neo was a normal private company that got bigger and bigger through drugs and eventually also entered the military field, getting their own private army. Entering low-income cities with high crime rates and building those cities up, giving people jobs and basically turning them into cities that everyone would love to live in. Sounds too good to be true, right? Because it is. They have secret labs and facilities where they do experiments on humans, and one day it got leaked by a person that died, and when they did a report on the corpse they found a biomachine in their bloodstream that can control their human emotions. Nanomachines, son. So the public view changed on them, but it was already too late. They have their big cities all over the world and their private army is way too huge, and they also started building walls around their cities to shelter them from the rest of the world. Luckily their biomachine stuff went a bit haywire here and there, and there's riots against Neo, so now the CSF that we are a part of thinks we have a chance to beat them and turn the world normal again. What do we learn from that? That you should never trust any company, even if they pay you well. Only trust yourself, and then don't even trust yourself. You can trust me though. The rest of the chapter is us just kinda having a jolly good time in our little group now. trying to make Maki open up to us by talking to her, but since we are really dense, we try to talk to her as a soldier instead of a human, and tell her to go help the medical team, because I guess we think every woman knows how to be a nurse. I mean, tons of men line up at the medical tent, mostly because of her and not because of their wounds, but since she's so cold, most of them quickly leave her alone again, so we don't get cucked. Luckily, Oma helps us out and teaches us how to make women fall for us and that we should talk normally to her. It leads to us finding out that Maki is really clumsy. Just look at what she does with the bandages. You know what else every woman can be aside from being a nurse? A good cook. So the MC just tells her to go to the kitchen instead, and she sucks at that too. So we cook instead and then go eat it together as a group because food tastes better in groups. We also think Maki is a picky eater since she puts all the carrots into a single spot on her plate and we just steal them, which makes her slap us and calls us a baka. I love this trope so much and never expected this in a Counter-Strike game. Visual novels are games, but that's a debate that will probably never end. She actually really loves carrots and just always leaves her favorite food for last, and we basically committed a war crime by stealing them away from her. I'm sorry, Maki. I love how the little slice of life section ends and right after you hear the classical CS gun sounds. It kinda gives you the feeling of being in an unofficial fan game in a way that just took the sounds from the game, even though it's official. Suddenly Neo forces approach and we look at one for Maki to find her and to have the chapter end. Nice cliffhanger. So the enemy forces are too overwhelming for us to really take them on in a fight, so we 3-1 into the darkness, not really being able to see anything, and Oma does the total bro move, leaving us alone with Maki while he wants to distract the enemies since he's the guy with the AWP anyways. I sure hope he will come back from this. He will, right? I'm writing the script chapter by chapter, so it feels more genuine with what I say about it. Me and you are both having the same kind of information like this. I don't know if he will survive. You don't know if he will survive. Isn't that sweet? Maki's feet don't say anything weird about feet, can't carry her for much longer since she also sprained her ankle, so it becomes even harder to run, but luckily there's a factory we can enter and hide in for a while taking care of the enemy and telling Maki to hide. She's really scared about losing you and doesn't want you to go out, but it has to be done. Most because she talks about how she's still mad at you for stealing her carrots and wants you to give them back to her still, and that was a promise. Even though the translation here now said sweet potato instead of carrots, so maybe we stole that too, but it keeps the same meaning anyways. So we get out of hiding and I love how the game section was just 2 seconds. And then it's like an unbeatable JRPG boss where even if you kill everyone, you still get hit and get your shoulder hurt anyways. After we pick up Maki again, we get some romancy little dialogue about how both of them are falling for each other, while blushing and Maki being all sorry for making you carry me even when you're hurt, and he's being all it's fine if it's for you Maki and all that. Then we reach the CSF stronghold in the morning and chapter end. We wake back up home and well, we are still kinda hurt, but luckily Maki comes over to change our band-aids and we tease her about how she better not turn our shoulder into a dumpling thingy like how she did it earlier to our hands. So they talk a bit like a young, awkward couple till Oma, he survived after all, sends you a voicemail that I will play for you.
Ohayo, my darling. 愛しの妻より愛のモーニングコールよ。
I love this dude. Then Maki also gets a bit jealous, not because of Oma calling you his darling, but because she wants your phone. You can't give it to her though, since it's used to tell if people died on the battlefield and all that, so she gets a bit pouty about it. You switch the topic to her feet, I know, feet, to ask her if it feels better now and she stumps and pretty much falls on top of you. I'm not afraid to mention that I love this trope too. It really hits all of those old school anime tropes for me. But since it's not an edgy kind of visual novel, Shou doesn't also suddenly has his hand on her boobs. So if you're a pervert who likes that, you're out of luck. I'm a pervert who likes it too, but here it would maybe feel a bit too out of place. So Oma comes in at the perfect timing just to see this happening and already wants to excuse himself so he does not cockblock you. What a bro. Time for breakfast. Also I like how the poster in the background says Elektrofirma, Germany mentioned. Then we get a quick filler mission where you get to shoot bang bang boom a bit, and it's really just a filler mission since it doesn't really add anything to the story, but they, I assume, just want to have at least one action part in every chapter, which they don't. I just really wonder why they have to be that short though. Make them take like 2 minutes or even 3 minutes, but these so far were all like 10 seconds together. Back at base, we do some aiming training with the AWP because we suck at it. So when Maki also comes around, she actually tells you how much you suck in comparison to Oma when shooting that one. I mean, there's a reason why most esports teams have a designated sniper in their team, right? Not everyone can be great with that one. She wants a shot too, and we get flashed by her perfect aiming pose jump, and this queen goes hard. I mean, she's aiming a bit too low I think, but she's doing it in pumps, with heels. Now you would also expect her to perfectly hit a headshot, even though a body shot with a sniper in most cases is the preferred way, because it's easier to hit, and a wounded soldier is sometimes better than a dead one, but not in Counter-Strike, but she misses. My expectations have been subverted. We tell her that her poacher was amazing, and she starts to say she really doesn't like to use guns, especially since they also hurt you. That's the biggest reason, and I think that's really sweet. Got a strike when the iron is hot, so we give her a phone that we bought when we were shopping recently, which she accepts and gets really flustered about it, telling us that she has to quickly go to the medical team to help them out, so she runs away. Which we think was a rejection. Show really didn't watch enough romance anime to understand that this wasn't Maki hating him or something like that, but instead she was way too embarrassed and happy to truly show him what she felt. She didn't want him to see her cry from happiness and getting teased by Oma about it. He really is a dense idiot who then even starts to talk about how nice it would be if the biomachine things from Neo could just get into his own blood, so all his needless worries and the pain of getting rejected could get removed from his brain, since they can turn you into an emotionless robot basically, coupled with some Japanese pop in the background. Man, I love this game. It tickles all my funny spots.
もうちょい信じてもいいんじゃないか
Just so Maki pretty much immediately calls him on the phone and tells him she will send him lots of cute little emails. Show really doesn't deserve her, but hey, it wouldn't be a visual novel without an extremely dense main character, right? They're a main staple of them after all. Next chapter starts off by Maki having an inner monologue about hoping that things will get better for us again, because almost all of our recent missions have been failures and she wants us to be safe before it gets back to us who are getting our ass kicked, so we have to abandon the mission. Having a little meeting with our comrades who have one little suspicion, that someone is leaking our plans. Who could it be? Nobody wants to say who it could be, but you know, the commander has to say it. Maki. Especially when he drops the information that many people who have those biomachines in their body suddenly start to burst out in tears at random points. Something that has happened to Maki quite a lot. Even though in most situations it did kinda make sense for her to cry, but still. Since she joined, all the missions have went a bit bad. Obviously, Shou doesn't want to accept that, and they get into a bit of an argument, but Shou apologizes and he goes out to meet Maki since he wanted to go on to a date. She doesn't show up though. Did something happen? So he looks around and goes back to the dorm, and even Oma is asking him where Maki went, and nobody knows anything. Eventually, we go to the training grounds, no Maki there, but the glow of some stained glasses is making us check out the church close to it, and there she is. Crying on the floor and not responding to us when we call out to her, giving her a big hug and trying to get her attention. Checking her phone and seeing she has like 100 emails that weren't sent to us with things like "Show, please help me, where were we supposed to meet, please respond," and things like that. Herself not quite knowing what is going on with herself and telling us she feels like her soul was being eaten from inside, making her lose her own identity, which makes us think fuck, maybe she is really being used as a spy against her own will in a way. But we don't want to drop her, we hug her tightly and cry together, for our first time ever basically, learning more about our own emotions too in the process, since we are normally the coder type, not wanting to show those weaknesses. And that's where it ends for now, but we are also making a promise that if we are ever looking for each other, we will meet up here again, waiting for how long we need till the other person shows up. With Maki under the suspicion of being a spy, we can't let her really out of our sights now, trying our best to keep tabs on her and being able to see if she's the one, or not. This includes watching her wake up, and you know, I also like to sleep naked, but sleeping naked when someone is watching you, they're not even dating, yet. They can't do such a thing, not before marriage at least. It's time to really put it to the test though, so Leonov calls us into the office to discuss a plan. That only includes us, him and Oma, and also Maki. No one else, since the morale of the troops is getting worse and worse, and they also even suspect Shou as a traitor too by this point, not just Maki, so we have to snuff the traitor out before it's too late. So, the plan is to only let these 4 people know about the plan to plant C4 at the facility of Neo that is split between a biochamber and a warehouse. Both of these places are normally guarded equally, so Maki gets told the warehouse is the main target, even though it's actually the biochamber. If the warehouse has more guards than usual, we know she told him about it. We watch over Maki like a hawk for 3 days while we both are sad about being treated like this, but we promise her to protect her and that everything will be okay. So the day of the mission arrives and the warehouse is guarded way more while the biochamber has no guards at all, which leads us to believe that sadly Maki is a spy and told Neo about this. Despite us not leaving her alone a single time in the build-up, that can't be true. So we plan DC4. It gets noticed, it doesn't blow up because we run away since the mission mostly was about finding out if there was a mole. That's all we wanted, and sadly our commander already texts the other people that yep, Maki did that, so they take her into custody. The only thing we can do as we arrive is watching them take her away because we are a pussy that broke the promise. She asks us to help, but Sho prefers to mob around and look at the floor because he can't take the pain of seeing her being taken away while crying, before she stops and thanks him in a more upbeat tone that has never been heard from her before. Asking ourselves, what the fuck are we even doing at this point? Sadly, Chapter 7 doesn't really exist as a download flash file and never got archived. I tried finding it, but the only thing I could find was a stream VOD of Stop Skeletons from Streaming who got it as an MP4. Double sadly, they just skipped through parts of it, but it doesn't seem to be too interesting anyway since it's mostly us preparing ourselves to save Maki from prison. Till we arrive and see her after she has taken out pretty much every guard in here, while saying how good it feels to kill someone. Words I can't relate to since I never killed anyone, sorry to disappoint. Really wished I could have seen this scene fully by myself. Luckily, Chapter 8 starts right there and we see Seko Maki in action, having tons of fun shooting people while we get creeped out. Sure, I think I would feel the same in real life, but a woman who just enjoys killing in fiction, that's my type of girl.
ああ、人を殺すって気持ちいい。
Too bad she doesn't really recognize us and rushes in to maybe kill us too, feeling the cold steel of her AK right against our forehead, our life flashing past while we ask her what's wrong. What happened to the Maki we know? Just for our commander to come out of hiding, and yep, he was the actual traitor. He was working for Neo all along.
あいにくと俺は生体機械のコントロールは受けている。
Finding Maki and us having to take care of her, that was all his plan all along, pretty much. Even if there were a few difficulties since Maki was something more of a second generation prototype with her biomachines. Being controlled by scent, and this type also enjoys murder and killing. Every time you see blood splattering around, you get dopamine rushing right into your brain and making you want to do it more and more, which is why Maki enjoys doing it so much. Obviously, a showdown with your senpai like this has both of us question what is the true nature of man. Are we selfish creatures who only want the best for us? Letting the weak be weak while the stronger people are at the top? That's basically what we are talking about with him trying to convince us that Neo actually has the right idea, removing bad emotions from our minds so we never have to fight another war and things like that. True will is a myth anyways, isn't it? We hit him with the "are you truly happy like this?" and he kinda isn't, but kinda is, so we have to take him down in an epic boss battle, because don't you love it when the villain is too distracted by his epic villain monologue so he doesn't notice us pulling out our Glock? We rush back to Maki since she turned somewhat normal again after the dopamine rush and she recognizes us, both of us just hugging it out again while we get interrupted by enemy forces, the CSF and the Neo guys who also appear later. Maki also going crazy again because our senpai wasn't actually dead, ? He actually was still alive and he throws one of his manipulating things to take control of Maki again and he tries to shoot us, but you can probably guess who actually catches the bullet for us. Yep, Maki. She broke the controls somehow and tanks it, us going mad with rage and unloading the rest of her magazine into him, which is cool as fuck. Revenge is actually a good thing to do, just shoot that dude. Auma also appearing and trying to save us, picking us up because we can barely walk anymore from all the bullets we have taken ourselves. We obviously don't want that though, since we are also trying to save Maki. How will this end? Will we be able to save her? Will we both die and Auma takes over our story to bring it to an end? I mean, it looks really hopeless. We will find out in the next chapter. A year and a half have passed and Maki is dead, and we wish we would be too. Those are the words of the main character, not mine. Life is worth living, for the most part, but that day has broken him, just endlessly fighting on countless battlefields while he thinks about how nice it would be to just get shot sometimes. Never waking up again and just be done with it. In the end he just can't bring himself to carelessly get shot like that though, especially since his senses and everything has been hardened up. Even being called the star of the unit now, which he doesn't like since he doesn't want to stand out, but what can you do? Also because you don't want to let the others down, just like how he thinks he let Maki down since he couldn't protect her. Auma also somewhat becoming the new commander, being the guy who works out the plans and makes sure nothing goes wrong, especially with you. Having a little bro talk with you about what Maki would think of you, that your meeting was fate, to help you actually, that you shouldn't throw your life away or else Maki would be really sad. So we go on a mission and he tells us some stupid rumor about there has been sightings of a person in a white dress just totally cleaning up battlefields by themselves and being called a ghost, since they leave no hints really after they're done. But I mean, come on, a white dress? That could only mean one thing, either it's Maki again or another girl like her. It would be kinda weird though if it was actually Maki, but this is a love visual novel story, so everything is possible. In my mind that would not be impossible, so maybe that ghost is her, but it still makes no sense since we saw her die, right? It's just a rumor anyways. I'm sure our mission won't suddenly turn to shit and the chapter ends to make us wonder if that ghost showed up. This was also the shortest chapter, but at least it had the most enemies for you to shoot in the action game so far. At least if we don't include the tutorial. Continuing right at the end of last chapter, we hear our teammates getting taken down one by one, with single fatal shots each, so we know the enemy must be a total pro who never misses a shot, till it's only Oma and us left, but instead of feeling fear, we kinda just feel calm, even if we should be sweating bullets. Getting closer and closer to Ghost, and inspecting some of the dead Neo soldiers too. I kinda wish they would have shown this with an image, but we inspect one and the blood of him is like wiggling around to show that his blood was manipulated. The description of it was really sick. Then Oma gets ambushed and we rush over to him, but we come too late. We see a single bullet just penetrating his forehead, killing him instantly without us being able to do anything. No last words, nothing. The only thing we are feeling at this moment is pure hatred. And who could blame Sho for feeling this way? His best friend was just taken out just like that. We mindlessly shoot through the smoke grenade that Oma still managed to deploy before he got shot, rushing into it with our Glock after wasting all the AK ammo, and then this happens. Can we quickly talk about how sick her new design is? I like short and long hair, so I don't care about that, but the design of her bodysuit adds garter belts. I'm a big fan of those. Now you can ask yourself, why would a killing machine need those? Good question. I don't know it either, but it's sick, so it's okay. Reminds me a bit of the first version of Cosmos from the first Xenosaga game. The second to last chapter opens up with the same scene, obviously, both of us staring into each other's barrel while we try to appeal to her, if she's really the same Maki or if she's a different woman, but Maki doesn't really react to it and then just quickly tries to get rid of us. Luckily the C4 we planted earlier blows up and gives us a distraction so we can avoid having her murder us and hide, seeing her just go on another rampage against CSF guys but also her own, the Neo guys. She was still a failed prototype after all, who gets so much pleasure from killing that it doesn't matter to her who she kills. Enemies? Fine. Her own comrades? Also fine as long as she gets to shoot people and has fun doing so. You know what's not fun? Seeing a person again that you thought you killed. Yep, somehow our old commander also survived having a whole Glock magazine pumped into his body and he shows up. A final twist in the story of him and us. If that wasn't already bullshit enough, he shit talks Oma's corpse and also stomps on it, knowing we are wound and can't just let him do such a thing, so his plan worked because we jumped out of hiding and tried to shoot him, going from cover to cover, which he expects and knows exactly where to shoot, but instead of shooting he also kicks Oma's corpse at us, thinking we are gonna dodge it. Who would do such a cowardly move though? We just do a sick forward roll to close the distance and shoot him, sadly only into his shoulder because we want answers. About him and Maki. How did he survive? No idea. He just tells you that the battlefield loves him. Alright, I take that as an answer. What about Maki? He tells us that we should know from last time she's a broken toy, it has to be eliminated, and it was even his own mission this time. But let's be honest, he wouldn't have had a chance against Maki either. Then some Japanese walker metal starts playing, and since we got all the questions out of the way, he just decides to make fun of us for not killing him already and overwhelms us with a surprise attack and gets his knife out, his arm swinging down to stab and kill us, but you know, if this was a quiz show, and I asked you what will happen next, you would know the answer to it, right? Yep, Maki shoots the knife out of his hands and kills him. I think it would make me pretty happy to see his brains getting splattered around right in front of me, since that guy was still on top of us. Normally I'm the bottom, seeing his body going limp and also that his blood wiggles around, so he had his own biomachines in his body. Last time we asked him if he had it, he said no. Now he had it though. So the question is, did he lie or has he changed in the last year? We haven't seen him. Not like it matters since he's dead. Maki is gone, which means that maybe there's still hope she actually can recognize us when she's not on a bloody rampage. And we finally can take some time to grieve about Oma's death. This is what makes us human after all, right? Life is about taking the happy emotions with also the not so happy emotions. Losing someone would just be another day in your life, which lowers the value of friendship a bit, doesn't it? Without knowing what happens in the next chapter, here's my little theory though. We go back to the church because she never shows up on another battlefield and we really want to finish things up with her. And since we did that promise earlier that we will meet at the church when we don't know where the other person is, it just seems the most likely. It had some pretty big cliches in the story so far, so this wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility. Anyone would guess this, I think. So let's move on to the next and final chapter to see if I am right. I did not cheat if it's right. Well, I don't want to brag, but that's basically what happens. But first it hits you right into the fields by Shou being all alone. All the other people in the camp are basically all gone. No one left after all these missions that ended in failure. And then you check your phone and see you still got an unread message from Oma, who just sent you a simple, "Shou, I will go on ahead." He sent it to you while he knew he was about to die. Not being able to hold back our tears, we just want to disappear, being all alone in this world now, with the only unanswered question still being Maki.
悪いショー、先に行く。
So, we remember the promise and arrive, seeing her while some epic church music plays and we get into a battle. Trying to survive and calling out to her, but it's just too late. We blame ourselves for not being able to save her. What if we didn't let her get jailed? What if I wouldn't have been such a pussy and actually tried harder? Would I have been able to save her at that point? It's too late anyways. Ending up staring into each other's barrel again, with her not reacting to us at all and she keeps saying how much fun shooting is. The real Maki wouldn't say this. She hated guns, especially since they hurt us. So our plan is to shoot, while also begging her to shoot us too. That will end the suffering for both of us. But it doesn't happen. We're the only one who shoots, but we feel the pain of getting shot, which isn't the pain of getting shot, but actually our heart just hurting so much that we have to be the person who has to put an end to her life. We do not want to live with the guilt and despair of having taken the life of the person we love, so we put the gun to our own head and are about to pull the trigger before we notice we got a message from Maki, a single word in it.
生きて。
Ikita, which means to live, staying alive. Live your life, even if it gets hard, even if it gets heavy, even if you feel it gets too much at times, keep going. And that's what we do. A beautiful but also quite depressing end, with us being left all alone. At least we got to bury both Oma and Maki on a little hill with a beautiful tree. I gotta be honest, I didn't full on cry, but I did shed a single manly tear at the end here. I really didn't expect it to be this good. I mean, what would you expect from a free Counter-Strike visual novel? I did not expect a shitpost or anything like that, but just a short little, somewhat middling experience that makes you think, yep, that's what I kinda expected. Instead I got such a well-written and amazingly paced experience that made me feel things. I'm not a total expert on visual novels, but I have read quite a bunch of them, mostly the popular ones such as Muramasa, the remake of the first Rans, Saya no Uta, Higurashi and Obineko, and some more, but this ranks itself into at least my top 10 of them, mostly because it doesn't have the usual problem I have with them, the overly written writing style of some of them. Sometimes they tell you something and it takes like 10 minutes of reading, even though just 1 minute of writing could have given you the same information. Their pacing can just be really bad at times. Here that wasn't the case. As an example, when you eat together with your team. That scene gets done in like 2 minutes and it gives you a glimpse of their personalities and giving you also some growth, opening up like this to Maki. Then if we take Higurashi, the eating scene would take like 20 minutes while Satoko explains why she doesn't like broccoli, which also has a reason in the story, but still. Not hating on it, but sometimes less is more. Obviously I also love it when it's written, overly written, but you know. With that said, I hope you didn't fall asleep while watching the video because, well, I have no real idea how to make a video about a visual novel somewhat more exciting through editing or things like that, but I tried. So I hope you enjoyed it anyways and you will have a good day, a good night or whatever fits your time zone. Bye bye.